It's Ashleigh from Sweet Dreams Bake Shop, and today we're going to be talking all about rentals, more specifically stand and dessert rentals. Now, in the cake and cookie industry, we really don't get a whole lot of opportunities to make passive income. I really can't think of any unless you're running your own blog or website or even your own YouTube channel. Then there are different ways to make passive income that way. But this is one of the few ways that I can think of that if you're not really online at all and you're just running your home baking business or your own bakery, this is a way for us to make passive income. So what is passive income? Basically, it's an income stream where you don't have to actually actively do anything. Now, I will say that, of course, with passive income and any income stream, you do need to set up the foundation, but once it's all set up, basically, you really don't have to do too much. So today, I'm going to be going over 4 tips on how to start your rentals and other tips on how to price your rentals as well. So let's get into it. So I already briefly talked about the benefits of cake stand and stand rentals. And one of the main benefits is, of course, there's really not a whole lot of work that goes into this. The other thing is that your customers are really going to enjoy this. A lot of times you might have heard your customers say that they were trying to figure out which stand they were going to get, which stand they were going to rent out, and they want to know the exact diameter of your cakes, cookies, cupcakes, macarons. And sometimes it can be a little bit tricky, even for ourselves, to make sure that it's going to fit exactly on the stand that they choose. Plus, we have to understand that a lot of customers don't actually know how much weight a cake, for example, is going to be. We've all had those customers that say that they want to place the 5-tiered cake that they've ordered on this particular stand, and it's from a website that isn't super reputable, so it's not really great quality, and chances are things are going to fall over or not balance properly on that stand. So this way, we can offer customers something that we know is exactly going to fit our product. So the big question is, what should you rent out? Well, my rule of thumb is to make sure that I have a few classic things on hand. Things like cake stands, cupcake stands. These things never go out of style. Mine that I have are very basic. They're just your typical white stand. And I also have a few clear ones as well. And I like to make sure that I have at least 1 silver and 1 gold option too. These seem to be pretty standard and pretty much transcends the last few decades. But what's going to make the rental portion of your business stand out is having things that people don't have access to. Or they have the access to it, but spending so much money for a one-time thing is not worth it to them. So you really want to try and look out for pieces that are trending. For example, I feel like in the past couple years, macaron stands have become really popular, where they're kind of like a tiered stand. And I've actually rented out those a number of times. People really wanted them. And when you're ordering so many macarons at once, I have a minimum of 40 macarons per order. It is the perfect way to showcase macarons. And not many people have that many macarons on hand or plan on having lots of macarons on hand. So this was a good investment. You also want to invest in things that are maybe a little bit more special looking as well. So something that's maybe vintage or something that you just found on a one-off occasion that's really special, but maybe follows the same trends that you're seeing on your Instagram feed. This is why it's really important to stay on top of the trends so that you know exactly what it is that you should kind of be pouring your money into. You also want to think about your own menu as well. Is there something specific that you make that you know people find difficult to actually display? For example, cake pops, especially the standing cake pops. Not many people have stands that can actually hold a whole lot of cake pops. And there are more and more things popping up on the market where it's like a cardboard cutout stand and then you can put your stuff on there. But really, if I were a customer and I wasn't really into all of this cake and cookie decorating, but I wanted that look of the over-the-top party, I'm not going to want a cardboard stand. Not only do they not hold as well, but I also find it doesn't really go with my look. Here are some of the items that I have purchased in past, and I truthfully only bought these because I personally wanted to showcase my own items on there. But in turn, because I was posting these photos, a lot of people started inquiring about where they could actually purchase these from or where they could rent them from, and I did rent a few of these out. Now, how should you price all of your rental items? The general rule of thumb that I like to follow is make sure that you can recuperate the cost of whatever it is that you purchased within 3 rentals. So you want to make sure, for example, if you purchase something for, let's say, $60, then you would rent it out for $20. Now, of course, you're going to want to rent this out and try to rent it out more than 3 times so that you recuperate your costs and you're making that passive income. Now, of course, the more specialized the item is, the higher the cost you're going to place things at. Now, I know I said that thing about the 3-time rule, but when something is so specialized and you might not be able to find that item again, you want to make sure that you really are covering your costs. You want to make sure that you're also charging accordingly, because obviously, the more special something is, the more rare something is, the more we need to charge for it. And finally, you need to make sure that you handle all of the logistics. Renting things out seems pretty simple enough, but there are things that can go wrong with this. So whenever I did rentals, I made sure to take down a $100 deposit. Now, this was on my fairly average items. If it was something that was a little bit more specialized, I would up the cost of that deposit a little bit, because you want to make sure that the deposit actually covers the whole cost of whatever it is that you're renting out, and maybe then some. Because if you rented out something that was super specialized that you can never replace, or maybe it's very expensive to repair, you want to be able to cover all of your costs. Now, really, there was only 1 or 2 times where people couldn't actually get their deposits back, but it happens because they violate something in the rental contract. So here is exactly what I put in my rental contract. Now, this might seem a little bit overly cautious or maybe very, very strict, but I find if you don't go in with a super strict set of rules, that's how you end up with broken cake stands or things that you need to replace. And in the end, it's going to cost you more money, and it's also going to be a headache. So this is going to eliminate any feelings of anxiety that things aren't going to come back to you at the right time, or in the right manner, or in the manner that you gave them in. Now, your contract might differ a little bit, but I personally wanted all of my cake stands assembled. I do not want to receive them disassembled. The reason being is if there's another rental soon after them that is going to use that cake stand, then I don't have the time to go and sit there and put things back together, especially if it's one that's a little bit more complicated. I want it as is. Now, of course, there are exceptions to that. If it's a very, very large cake stand, then maybe I want it in 2 pieces. Either way, I always said that I wanted my cake stand returned in the exact same condition. If the cake stand was apart, I would not give the deposit back. Yes, it's very, very strict. But honestly, that really never happened. As soon as you put those parameters in place, I find that people try not to violate them. The next thing is, as I said, that the cake stand had to be washed and cleaned. Now, realistically, I'm obviously going to go back in and wash it again. The reason, though, that I put that clause in there is because you will not believe some of the things that come back onto stand rentals. So as long as they can clean it to the best of their ability, that is what I am looking for. But sometimes in past, before I put that clause in there would be things caked on there or stains on there that were not removable. So you need to make sure that you put some sort of clause like that in place. The next thing, of course, is it has to remain in working condition. So if something happened, if a little piece broke off, even if there was a little bit of a rubber stopper that was missing or anything like that, that would result in not getting your deposit back. So you can do the deposit in one of 2 ways. I did mention a cash deposit before, but you can also do an e-transfer. Now, here are the benefits of both. With the cash deposit, it's very simple. You don't have to take down any additional information. It's really easy to give back the cash deposit, and there's no extra charges for e-transfers if your bank charges you for e-transfers. I also find with the cash deposit, it makes the customer feel a little bit more at ease. I feel like when you put it into somebody's account and then you have to wait for it to come back out of their account to give back to you, sometimes that can make the average customer feel a little bit antsy, especially if they're not super into online banking, then they may not understand how everything works. But the benefit of doing an e-transfer is that they can just give you the stand and then you can inspect on your own time whether or not that stand was given back to you in working condition. Whereas when you're doing the whole cash thing, they have to kind of wait for you to actually inspect the whole rental. And sometimes when you're under pressure, you may not be able to inspect it to the best of your ability. You also want to make sure that you leave space between pickups and drop-offs. Now, not everybody is going to return things exactly when they're supposed to. So you can put that in your contract as well, that they need to return it by X time or else will be charged X amount of money for every 15 minutes late, 30 minutes late, whatever. But you wanna make sure that you do leave that leeway space in between, because not everybody will drop things off and pick things up when they're supposed to. Now, this probably goes without saying, but you do wanna make sure that you maintain and keep everything in good condition. Even if your customers are handing things back to you as best as they can, there's always going to be a little bit of wear and tear. I find in most cases, it's me actually damaging the things by putting them into the cupboard and then maybe slamming my cupboard door on it or something like that. So you always wanna make sure that you're double checking your items and making sure that everything looks clean and good when you give it to your customers. It is so, so important that you're putting your best foot forward whenever you hand off an item. I've rented out items in past, and I really, really do not like it when it's dirty or dusty or what have you. So it's really important that you give something that you are proud to give and that is table ready. So I hope that gave you some ideas on how to push that passive income at your home baking business or just your baking business. Now, I know this rental system might not be for everybody because maybe you already have too much on your plate already, but it really is just a great way to add, $20 here or $30 there to an order, and it really, really adds up. And I myself am somebody that loves to one-stop shop, and I can't tell you the amount of times people have been rushing to my place to come and pick up their cakes, and they need to go and rush to get cake stands or other things that are needed. So if I could one-stop shop somewhere, I would definitely choose to do that. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can be part of the Sweetie fam. Right now, I'm uploading weekly, so make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when I upload. Also, be sure to comment, request, or ask a question. I love hearing from you guys. Bye!